Duality is on the loose as a man struggles with the aftermath of finally getting in touch with his feelings. A grotesque monster takes center stage, hunted by a relentless journalist hell-bent on exposing the truth. Part Jekyll and Hyde, part Frankenstein, part Les Miserables. You will believe a man can be angry enough to change, and despite what you may have heard, you might like it. Hi, I'm Dan Larson, and this is the history of the Incredible Hulk. The Incredible Hulk is a live-action television series that ran on the CBS network in the United States from March of 1978 to May of 1982. 80 episodes over 5 seasons, it was preceded by 2 separate pilot movies released in 1977 and followed by 3 more television movies in 1988, 1989, and 1990. Mild-mannered physician and scientist David Bruce Banner begins conducting experiments into the potential for incredible feats of strength humans have been known to exert during times of great physical or emotional trauma. His research prompted by his own personal weakness when his wife is killed in a car accident. Impatient, desperate for results, maybe not thinking totally clearly with the kind of rational mind that science requires, David uses himself as a guinea pig in his gamma radiation experiment without the assistance or supervision of his lab partner, Dr. Elena Marks. The experiment results in his unwilling transformation into the Hulk, a massive, plodding, simple-minded, green-skinned ogre of a human specimen whenever he gets angry. It's like Jekyll and Hyde, except he doesn't need transformation serum. Or the Wolfman, but rage is his moon. It's Turbo Teen, but instead of transforming into a car based on his temperature, he transforms into a monster based on his temperament. He's Hulk when he's angry, David when he settles down. Both of them are on the run after the Hulk is presumed to be responsible for the deaths of both Dr. Elena Marks and David himself, thanks to crack reporter Jack McGee, who has been investigating reports of the giant green man monster. And so goes the sad, sad tale of David Banner. It's sad. It's real sad. He tries to do good. He tries to help people along the way. We're gonna get the music for this, right? We can use it. Traumatized by the death of his wife, traumatized by the death of his lab partner, traumatized by the lab accident that turned him into a monster, forever forced to live a life on the run, searching for a cure for his condition, stalked by an agent of truth while the world thinks he's dead, and he technically hides an alleged murderer deep inside him. The Incredible Hulk television series was based on the Incredible Hulk comic book character from Marvel Comics. Hulk, the character, was created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. Hulk, the show, was developed, produced, and sometimes written and directed by Kenneth Johnson. Kenneth Johnson, who would go on to write, direct, and produce V in the 80s, Alienation in the 90s. He directed Short Circuit 2, and also wrote and directed Steel, starring Shaquille O'Neal in 1997. But hey, Kenneth Johnson already had an impressive television portfolio before the Hulk. He produced and wrote the $6 million Bionic Man in 1975 and created, produced, wrote, and directed The Bionic Woman in 1976. That was more than enough to get him an offer to develop a television show based on Marvel characters that Universal Television had licensed. Skeptical at first, he ultimately embraced the challenge of developing the Hulk after an inspirational reading of Victor Hugo's Les Miserables. But it was going to take a few more changes than just swapping out the Hulk for Jean Valjean. Johnson needed to pull the character away from its comic book roots and ground him in a more believable world. Out with atomic bombs, in with low-key gamma radiation experiments. No dialogue for the Hulk. Take the strength down by a factor of like 1,000. Focus on the Hulk being the only real thing that makes this world different from the television world. It's easier to believe a world with one lab accident than a whole universe of superhero characters. Most of the familiar characters from the comics were replaced with characters created for the show, like reporter Jack McGee. The name Bruce Banner was changed to David Bruce Banner to get away from the alliterative naming conventions so common with comic book characters. Bruce was kept as his middle name, which was actually consistent with the comics where his full name was Robert Bruce Banner. Bobby?
Bobby.
Bobby Bruce Banner? Johnson had lobbied early on for changing Hulk's skin to red, since green isn't a color we associate with anger. That change was nixed by Stan Lee himself, who asserted that green was too integral to the design of the character. Of course, years later, in 2008, General Thunderbolt Ross, the character responsible for hunting Bruce Banner and the Hulk in the comics, would be transformed into a Red Hulk.
This is the Hulk. You can place the Hulk into the Rage Cage. With a few pumps of the Hulk inflator, you can make the Hulk grow in size. Rip out of the shirt. And break out of the Rage Cage. The Hulk comes complete as shown. Some assembly required from Fun Stuff.
Before the regular series began airing in March of 1978, there were 2 pilot movies. The first TV movie, called The Incredible Hulk, aired early in November and set the stage for tone, plot, and established the origin story. The second, called The Return of the Incredible Hulk, aired 3 weeks later, expanding on the elements that had been established in the first. Both movies would be broken up into 2-part episodes and run during the regular series. Joe Harnell was the composer for the series, having worked with Kenneth on Bionic Woman. He created the song The Lonely Man, which, thanks to this series, has become the theme song for pretty much anything requiring sadness since loneliness, heartbreak, heartache. We have the music, right? And walking away into the distance. Alone. We're gonna get the music. David Banner was played by Bill Bixby, who had worked in television prior to Hulk, but was also a frequent contributor to the creation of the show, including directing 1 episode in 1981. After the Hulk, directing would be the majority of his career, most prominently on 8 episodes of Sledgehammer and 30 episodes of Blossom. Hulk was eventually played by Lou Ferrigno, but not before Arnold Schwarzenegger was considered for the role. Arnold was a 6-time Mr. Olympia, the face of professional bodybuilding, about to become a gigantic Hollywood star. But at 6'2" it wasn't quite the height difference to Bill Bixby's 5'9" that they were hoping for. Richard Kiel was actually cast as Hulk. You'll recognize him as Jaws from the James Bond films, as well as dozens of other TV and movie roles, and not for nothing, Mr. Larson from Happy Gilmore. Richard didn't last long as Hulk. His already poor vision was further compromised by the contacts that were required. He didn't quite have the physique the production wanted after all. And he really didn't care for the makeup process, so he was not disappointed to be replaced. He did, however, make it into the pilot episode for like 18 frames if you look really close. Lou Ferrigno came in second to Schwarzenegger in the 1974 Mr. Olympia contest. A 1977 documentary about that competition called Pumping Iron put Ferrigno in the spotlight. That spotlight and Arnold's recommendation helped get Lou the part. At 6'4", he had what Arnold was missing. The Incredible Hulk was a very popular show, did good in the ratings. The show fed the sales for the comic, which in turn drove interest in the show. The stories weren't connected in any way, but Hulkmania was exploding and all the little Hulkmaniacs needed more Hulk. But even after 5 seasons, there was very little merchandise specific to the show. From 1978 to 1982, a daily syndicated newspaper strip initially written by Stan Lee and illustrated by Larry Lieber was generally adapted from the TV series. It maintained the David Banner naming, the Jack McGee reporter pursuing him from town to town, and a Hulk who never speaks. But the visual representation was in line with the way he was appearing in comics published by Marvel, and that's where the merchandise support was, and there was a lot of that. The comic book visuals, shared naming, all in service to the show and the comics. The Incredible Hulk continued to get good ratings into the 80s, so good that Marvel Comics created She-Hulk in 1980 when CBS started thinking about potential spin-offs. Kenneth Johnson had already made a similar move, creating Bionic Woman in response to the popularity of Bionic Man. Marvel wanted to make sure that, should CBS decide to go in that direction, Marvel would own the rights to the character. Despite those continued positive ratings, CBS felt like the show had run its course by 1981 and canceled it while shooting was taking place on the next season. Bill Bixby attempted to find another network to pick up the show to no avail. CBS ran the 7 completed episodes through 1982 as the final season. 2 years later, Bixby was still working to get Hulk back on the air in any capacity. He reached out to Nicholas Hammond, who played Spider-Man in the very brief Amazing Spider-Man television series in 1977. Bixby was hoping to start a little Marvel Cinematic Universe on TV with a crossover between the two popular characters. Bixby was on board, Hammond was on board, but CBS canceled it, saying that Ferrigno wasn't available, which was a surprise to Ferrigno, as he didn't even know about the project until 2004, and that was too late. In 1988, New World Television, who owned all of Marvel Entertainment at the time, purchased the Hulk filming rights from MCA Universal. Those rights were then awarded to NBC with the intent of closing out the Hulk storyline and sneaking in a few backdoor pilots.
Ooh.
You ever sneak in a few backdoor pilots? The Incredible Hulk Returns aired on NBC in 1988. It featured the first appearance by another superhero character in the world of TV Hulk. Donald Blake had a magical hammer that could summon the god of thunder Thor, who is desperately trying to get into Valhalla, which, if I understand the rules, means he wants to die, yes? The trial of the Incredible Hulk followed in 1989 with the first live-action appearance of Daredevil, played by Rex Smith of Street Hawk fame. Kingpin was played by John Rhys Davies of Indiana Jones, Lord of the Rings, and Sliders fame. Unfortunately, neither Thor nor Daredevil ended up with their own series, and the third movie, 1990's The Death of the Incredible Hulk, intended to, again, set up a She-Hulk series, but focused instead on closing out the Hulk's story. Had things gone according to that plan, next in line would have been Iron Man. During the climactic scene of the movie, the airplane that the Hulk is on explodes and he falls to the ground like really hard, and that impact delivers such a blow to the Hulk that it essentially kills him. He reverts back to David Banner, and then Banner, too, dies. A fourth movie was planned, but the poor ratings of Death of the Incredible Hulk and the actual death of Bill Bixby due to complications related to prostate cancer in 1993 permanently ended the series. According to Death of the Incredible Hulk writer Gerald DePago, the fourth movie could have seen a revived and cured Banner captured by bad guys to create new evil Hulks for their evil army. Banner would then have no option but to recreate his original Gamma experiment accident in order to re-Hulkify himself to fight off the army of evil Hulks. All three of those movies are available on DVD. The entire series was released as a 6-disc Ultimate Collection set in 2003. The complete series was again released in 2005 and once again in 2006 through 2008. Hulk was an international sensation as well. Fabulous Films released the complete series on DVD in the UK in 2008 and then again on Blu-ray in 2016. You can also purchase it digitally from various streaming and on-demand services like Amazon. Don't make me angry, you wouldn't like me when I'm angry. Banner's famous quote became a pop culture touchstone for the generation that grew up watching the show. The series and that line have been referenced, satirized, parodied countless of times in movies and television. 2008's The Incredible Hulk starring Ed Norton as Bruce Banner contains references to that quote, the character of Jack McGee, and even a few notes of the theme. That's canon. The Incredible Hulk television series made Hulk and David Banner household names in the US and around the world. It solidified Hulk's place, his origin, the concept of the character prominently in pop culture, and helped extend Marvel's influence beyond comic books and cartoons. Thanks for watching. Please hit like, hit subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Thank you very much to those of you who already are. If you're in the position to help the channel grow, please visit our Patreon or become a YouTube channel member. Please share this video and let us know in the comments down below if you're more of a David Banner or more of a Hulk. Do you like doing science and thinking about the world? Or do you like tearing your pants, leaving your hair all a muss, and wasting a perfectly good pair of shoes like every other day? That's what the Hulk does, right? He has the power to be unkempt. Sometimes these work, sometimes they don't.
That's all that matters.